Hi, I'm Ellen Shimberg. Welcome to What's in the Pantry, Disability Pride Pennsylvania's cooking show featuring cooks with disabilities all around our region. We're excited to bring to you a variety of cooking shows with recipes that you're going to find simple and easy to prepare with items that you're going to find in your pantry. All of our cooks have disabilities and they're going to show you how they navigate in the kitchen and bring delicious meals to the table. We're excited to welcome you and we hope you'll be on board. Come and join us. Hi, I'm Ellen Shimberg. Welcome to another exciting episode of What's in the Pantry cooking show, hosted by Disability Pride Pennsylvania. We're thrilled to have you here. I'm super excited to welcome today's chefs, Izzy Kaufman, President of Disability Pride Pennsylvania's board, and Phill Rosen, our podcast producer. Also, husband and wife, they've been cooking together for 14 years. I think those of us with partners who cook with people in the kitchen know that cooking is a dance. So we're going to be talking to Phill and Izzy about how the two of them work together in the kitchen. We're going to also ask Izzy a lot of questions about special techniques and tips that she can use to provide for folks who with mobility issues to function happily in the kitchen. More importantly, how these two cook together. And they've been cooking together for a long time, so I think we have a lot to learn. Hello, welcome. We're so glad to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Tell us a little bit about today's recipe, what we're cooking. And also, would love to know, is this a family recipe? Is this something, a family favorite? What's the story behind the recipe?
Yeah, so this is sheet pan japchae. We actually found it in the New York Times 4 or 5 months ago. And we were just like, hey, this might make things a little bit easier because japchae is a lot of stir frying, a lot of work. On the stove. So this is much quicker, much easier.
We've been talking to folks who cook, and we know that at the end of the day, putting together quick and delicious meals is really important. The other thing I loved when I read the recipe for this is what we've been talking about is that these are ingredients most folks have in their pantry. The noodles may be a little bit different, but I'd also be willing to bet that you could probably substitute a standard pasta for this if that's something that you have in your kitchen. So let's get started. Tell us a little bit about the recipe. Let's start cooking.
All right, so japchae is a Korean noodle dish, but we're starting with cutting all of the veggies. So we have some beautiful mushrooms and a pepper. So we're gonna just cut this up.
So while Izzy's cutting things up, Phill, do you typically supervise or does she give you another activity to do?
Usually I'm going between the stove and the oven, doing all the prep for that kind of stuff. Occasionally, if there's a lot of cutting of things, I will cut other things. But this recipe is basically two things.
So do you have a big kitchen? How do you two work together in a kitchen around a wheelchair?
Well, our kitchen's pretty small. So we end up usually we set Iz up at our dining table and she's just chopping things on the table there. I have a little bit of counter space. I'll sometimes cut over there. Do other things, and the way that our kitchen is set up is a little bit weird. It's like an L shape, so the oven and the stove are off to the side. So
It's not accessible.
I was going to
Really
ask,
not
it's not
accessible.
accessible. How do you manage that if it's not accessible for you to get in and around your kitchen?
It's hard and it's not as fun to cook, but we're moving to a place that has a more accessible kitchen. So I'm excited for that.
What would you suggest to folks who are in your situation, love to cook, cooking as a couple is always a good time. What would you suggest for folks who might be I can't imagine that your small kitchen is any different than my small kitchen. So what would you suggest to those folks who want to be able to cook but are stuck in a tiny, tiny city kitchen?
Just have all of the right tools. Like have things like a blender that can do like multiple things at once. Like for instance, a Vitamix blender, they can make soup, they can make all kinds of stuff like dressings. So like having something that can do multiple things is very helpful. Yeah.
One of the things that I'm curious about is obviously there's countertops and then there's storage below. How do you access what do you have on the upper cabinets that might be a challenge for you to reach? And has your kitchen been set up so that plates, bowls, pots, pans are all within your reach?
That is such a good question, Ellen. They're not. So I do have to ask Phil to grab things. And if I was home alone, I usually can't cook very much because like he has to grab all the cooking stuff. But I think having a more accessible kitchen will definitely change that.
Tell us what an accessible kitchen looks like.
I think
to you.
this is an accessible kitchen that we're in right now because I have a table that is like the perfect height for me to sit and cut. So I just sliced all of our peppers. So it's just one bell pepper sliced, and you can slice it like really rough chop. We're not trying to be like aesthetically pleasing over here. We're just
we're
trying
going
to
for
make
tasty.
some food.
And I would also wonder, I think a recipe like this is, you can do some substitution. So if the recipe calls for a certain kind of mushroom, they don't have it, we can use a different mushroom. It doesn't have the right kind of noodle,
Absolutely.
we can substitute another noodle. So this really does make it a common pantry. It sounds exotic because of the name, but I think that it really, when folks see the ingredients, are basically things that we have in our pantry all the time.
Yeah.
So if you don't cook when Phil's not around, if Phil do you order out? How do you navigate that?
I'll order out. I'll have something like that's partially made, and then I can just maybe microwave it,
Right.
that kind of a thing. It's definitely not ideal.
If you were to design a dream kitchen for someone who is using a wheelchair,
Ooh,
what would that look like?
I love that question. I think it would definitely have to have like space to be able to access the oven, because in my current kitchen, I can't roll my wheelchair up to the oven because it's just too narrow over there. And the oven is in this like weird corner space that Phil was talking about.
Yeah.
So I can't even access our oven. So having an oven that's like easy to access, even an oven that's like maybe opens not
Not open
out
straight,
like
but
that.
opens to the side.
Yes.
Well, and one of the things that is forgetting about our oven, or isn't talking about, is it's kind of hard to stand in front of it too. Like it's just literally there's like maybe
There's
an
no room
inch
to-
between where the door is open to and the wall. So it's
So
like-
when you guys are looking at housing, when you're looking at apartments to rent, what are the kinds of things that you look for that maybe those of us who don't use a wheelchair wouldn't even be in our, we wouldn't even think to look for those things?
A space under the sink to, like, there's a
Like the
space
space
here.
that we can roll, right?
Mhm. That would be one of the things.
Do you
Yeah.
have countertops at different levels?
We have only like one countertop right now.
So, because I'm seeing that you're sitting, and obviously this is fantastic for you, but for Phil and I to bend over to cut like this would be more of a challenge. So, would in order to cook together, would it like a 2 countertop system where maybe you're at one and then it sort of pops up a little bit higher?
Oh my gosh, that
Yeah,
would be
that
awesome.
would definitely be great.
Like an adjustable table?
Or an adjustable counter
adjustable
would be nice
counter.
too.
Yeah.
In terms of upper cabinets, which I know, Izzy, is not accessible to you, do you use them?
Well, in our current place, we
Packing
have
up
to.
right now.
So I guess my
True,
question
but
is,
yeah.
obviously, almost every kitchen you know of has upper cabinets. How do you guys prioritize what you put up there in terms of the stuff, because Izzy can't get to it, and what you store? Like, do you keep your plates in a lower cabinet, your glasses down in lower cabinets also?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plates, utensils, anything like that is going to be in a lower cabinet. Any cups and stuff I can reach. But yeah, like having a kitchen, it would be really cool if you could like bring the cabinets down.
Like a pull down cabinet. Right.
Yes. I would love that.
Do you think, as you're looking, are you looking at new construction or are you looking at existing housing?
We
Older
looked
housing?
at existing housing.
Yeah, it's existing.
And it was built in like the 1960s, our building that we're moving into.
And the kitchen is just more accessible for you. Now, do you bring in any extra things to make it?
Yeah, I mean, normally when I'm processing garlic, so we're moving on to the next step. So I cut the mushrooms.
And while we're doing
And now I'm
this-
going to process some garlic, which just means taking off the skin. There's a few different ways to do that. I usually just cut off the end right here. And I just find that that's the easiest way to remove the skin, and then give it a little press. And if you just want to use the palm of your hand, you could do that too.
And Izzy, my question is, I know that obviously mobility, but does your hands?
Yeah.
So do you sometimes have days where that's not, where even cooking is just not possible?
It's true. Yeah.
And do you have adapted cooking utensils that maybe make the task easier? Or do you just say on the days we're sending out?
No, we have a little garlic thing that I totally wish I brought with me, but it's like he looks like a little Dracula. Like, and then you put your garlic, your whole cloves in it, and then just twist it, and they're minced in like literally 30 seconds.
And is that an adapted garlic press or is that just a garlic press?
It's just a
a
garlic.
garlic cutter,
press.
yeah. But I
Do
think
you-
it makes it easier.
Do you have adapted cooking utensils?
I don't have anything that's like specifically adapted for disability.
Now, I know that, and I'm just going to throw this in, that we know about the Tech Owl program.
Yes.
And I have to put in that. So through that, are there things that folks might not know that exist for people
Yes.
with disabilities to be able to sort of independently cook? And can you tell us a little bit about what those things might be?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Before I do that,
Before you do.
I'm just gonna talk about the garlic real quick. I'm gonna just cut it into slices, and then I'm just gonna cut it into giant chunks. Keep it real simple. So the devices that we have at Tech Owl that can be borrowed are things like an adapted cutting board. And the adapted cutting board has like spikes in it. So someone could like put their vegetables there and then cut it. And that way it's like steady and stable and you know where it is on the cutting board. It's not gonna move anywhere. So good for people with mobility disabilities, but also vision disabilities, because it won't move anywhere. So they'll know exactly where it is on the cutting board at any given moment. So it's easier to cut, and you're not going to cut your fingers.
Are there other utensils, knives, tongs, and what would they look like for those of us who might not be familiar? I'm assuming are they bigger grip handles?
Yes, there are universal cuffs that can be put on any utensil. So those are very accessible to anyone, and they're like $12 on Amazon for maybe 10 of them or something like that. They can be attached to toothbrushes and regular hair brushes, things like that. But yeah, kitchen utensils, whisks, knives. This could totally have one of those cuffs on it. Another one of the devices that I think a lot of people with disabilities would appreciate is a automatic can opener that you just like put on top of the can, turn it on, set it, forget it. There's no moving.
There's no manual need to move
and it doesn't have like a sharp edge. It makes the edge like dull on the can, so you're not gonna cut yourself.
your fingers, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of different things. There's all kinds of things for cooking, and there's all kinds of things for eating. Like there's a robot that can help people eat that anyone can borrow in PA for 5 weeks from Tech Owl. And it's called the OB dining robot, and it's really cool. It's one of very few devices where someone with a disability can train this device to bring a spoon. The plate is full. It brings a spoon up to somebody's mouth. They just have to train the device to make sure that it's like anticipating the movements.
So it's really fostering independence for folks. Are these devices, like if you want to go out to dinner, can you take these devices with you?
I think it would be hard. It would be challenging.
Can you? I'm sure you're ready for the next step. And I've got another question about how you can rent things from Tech Owl for your kitchen.
Oh yes. So we would love. You can go to techowlpa.org and check out. Just go to where it says borrow, and you can borrow devices. And we have so many devices beyond just the cooking devices. But anything like daily living. So if you're looking for cooking things, search for the daily living devices.
And you have to be a PA resident?
Yes. Yes, you do.
And it's a 5-week loan?
5-week loans.
And at no charge?
No charge.
So that way, if somebody could try it out, if they like it, and then if they wanted to purchase, where would somebody find items like this to purchase if they decided that's what they wanted to do?
Amazon.
All of these are available on Amazon?
Well, maybe not the OB dining robot,
Right.
but like any kind of adaptable spoon handles, things like that, all Amazon.
The dining robot, is that a Temple invention?
No. But
I'm assuming that's a really expensive piece of equipment.
yes. I don't know how much it costs, but it's definitely, it could be covered under insurance, potentially. So keep that in mind.
That's really good advice. All right, so we've got our everything chopped. What comes next?
Yeah, so maybe we'll start with just putting the veggies into the sheet pan here. So we'll just start with the spinach right here. And what we do in this recipe is you just kind of line the veggies up in 3 different separate piles. And and then you just drizzle them with oil, little salt and pepper.
And this is just a bag of frozen spinach.
Yeah.
Right. Could you use fresh spinach?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you could.
It's just so much more work to process fresh spinach.
Yeah, you got to do all the chopping,
Right.
the washing, everything, but
Okay, that looks
there.
awesome.
What
you
other
make
things do you
rice.
guys like to cook together?
Ooh.
a lot of different things. We like to cook a lot of Korean food.
Yes. Bulgogi is one of
Yeah,
my favorite
bulgogi's
things
great.
to eat. That is actually, I find that really easy to make as a person with a disability. Also, Korean food just makes sense to me and it's easy on my stomach. So that's why I like to eat a lot of Korean food. Yeah, what other dishes would we make?
Do you guys go to the market together?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the time we do. We shop together. We feel each other's vibes of what we want to eat. We're not always great at planning, but if you plan, it does make it more accessible to make these dishes.
Well, the thing I liked about this recipe is this is stuff a lot of us often, I mean, one of the things we asked when we asked folks to be on the show is, recipes that you would find in everybody's pantry.
Yes. Yeah.
So that we're not asking, we're sort of, I tend to get carried away sometimes and I see a recipe I like and it has an ingredient that I will never use again.
I know, yeah.
And
it
I
just
have a
sits in your
cabinet
pantry.
of ingredients that I will never use again, which is fine. But I think in terms of being pragmatic, I think this is the way. So just liberally dose with olive oil,
Yeah, and just give it a little
a
zhuzh.
zhuzh,
Like you're just roasting vegetables
Right.
over here.
kitchen failures. How are those? How do you guys handle those?
Oh, that happens all the time. Like knocking things off the counter.
Right.
That happens. We just clean it up. Phil has to be the one to bend down because we don't have like an automatic sweeper or a like robot vacuum, which really would be great actually for cleaning up after
Right.
cooking.
Yeah.
One day, it's on the list.
So those are all ready to go. I'm just gonna wipe my hands.
Did you guys know from the beginning that you liked cooking together, or was it something you sort of fell into?
Well, Phil actually, he used to cook as a kid for his family. And he was the one who cooked all of the meals for his family, like for a while.
Yeah.
So he taught me really how to cook. I didn't really know how to cook like that well. I didn't even know how to cook like scrambled eggs really until I met Phil.
And now you're cooking Korean food.
Yeah.
Do you experiment on your own? Izzy, do you experiment in the kitchen?
Not really. Not right now. But maybe in my new place.
In your new place.
I will be experimenting.
All right.
I also like to bake. And I don't bake in our current apartment, so
You can't.
I'll be baking. I'll be baking our new
lot.
apartment.
That's
gluten-free. It'll be all gluten-free, but another thing that we have to take into account is Phil cannot eat any gluten. Or he can, but
I can, but
but
it's not
within reason. Okay, so
Yeah, we got that. We should mix the sauce now.
all right.
So
I preheated the oven so it's ready to go at
perfect.
425.
So the garlic goes in there, of course.
Yes. My garlic chunks.
Mm-hmm.
And they're quite large. Like, it doesn't really matter how big they are. If you like large pieces of garlic, you can go large. If you like them smaller, you can mince it much smaller.
I like the fact that the recipe's flexible. It gives folks options. And we stuck with sort of the basics.
Yeah.
I like, as I said, the fact that everything is already in your pantry to us makes it a lot easier.
Okay, so this sauce is just a basic Korean noodle sauce. So it has sugar because lots of Korean sauces have sugar, just to make it sweet and to balance out all the flavors. And then we add some soy sauce, which makes things super delicious all the time. Lots of umami flavor. I love soy sauce. So, but you can substitute with tamari if you can't have gluten, because there's a little bit of gluten in soy sauce.
The folks who want to get connected to Tech Al, and I'm going to keep coming back to because I just think
Yeah.
it's such an amazing program. Is there a wait list to get?
It depends on the device. Some devices are more popular than others, but I don't think the kitchen devices have wait lists very often. So,
It's a
oh, wait.
teaspoon as well.
Oh yeah, 2 tablespoons and then a teaspoon of soy sauce.
What are the kinds of things that, I guess that my question is really the advantage of a 5-week rental is to give someone an idea as to whether or not it's a piece of equipment, and then they can go back to their insurance company.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the insurance company doesn't just say, sure, you need a doctor's note. How hard is it to get
depends.
adaptive equipment paid for by insurance?
It's very hard.
I would assume
Yeah.
so, yeah.
It has to be like medically necessary.
A tablespoon of syrup.
Tablespoon. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be medically necessary, and that is very subjective. But I think food is medicine.
Yeah, I think so
Food
too.
is healing. Food is so important. Like, it should be prescribed to us to eat well and to have all those devices.
That's a teaspoon. You need to do 2 more of those.
Oh, 2 more?
See, that's what happens when you're
Yeah.
talking, right? I know, we get
Don't remind me
distracted.
what is actually in the recipe. 2 of these?
Yep, 1 more.
All right. There we go. And we're just using like a regular spoon. You don't have to have any fancy spoons. No tablespoons. If you have them, great.
Mm-hmm.
Don't I learned a while ago a trick
we
for
need to
sharpening
put
knives is if you turn a coffee mug over, the bottom will let
Sesame
you
seeds.
can sharpen your knives on the bottom of a coffee mug if you have like the ceramic ones. If you can do this if you don't have a stone or something to. I'm always looking for sort of easy ways to.
Interesting. We have a knife block right now that sharpens the knives as we put them in and take them out, which is really
That is
helpful for accessibility. And then it just keeps the knives nice and, You know what? I'm just going to pour some sesame seeds in. However many you want.
Yeah, it would normally be a tablespoon in there.
That's about a tablespoon.
But
I think
that's about
these are more of
tablespoon
a
right there.
suggestion.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, there's more for sprinkling over the top when everything's done, anyways.
And I'm gonna mix up the sauce now. And this just kind of sits and waits while the vegetables cook and the noodles are heating up.
All right, so now we have everything ready to go into the oven and to cook the noodles. So we're gonna just take everything and go over here. Put them in for 10 minutes and toss them at that time. All right, so now it's time to boil the noodles. Open up the box. This is the perfect amount of these noodles. If I can get them open. There we go. All right, just dump them in here and give them a quick stir. And these take about 5 minutes or so to cook, stirring occasionally. Starting to loosen up, that's good.
Phil, what kind of noodles are you using, and can we substitute if we don't have the exact noodles?
Oh yeah, so these are pad thai noodles. These are rice based. Normally this recipe would be made with sweet potato starch noodles. But you can pretty much use any kind of long noodle. You probably could use spaghetti if you really wanted to.
Have you ever substituted?
No, we usually have the sweet potato starch noodles at home. Now I just got to take the noodles out of here real quick. Normally I would just take it to a sink and pour it right into the colander, but don't have that luxury in this kitchen. Okay. It's also time to flip the veggies, so I'm gonna pull them right out of here. And like you kind of see they're, halfway done cooking. I'll just take this and just kind of stir everything around, trying to keep it relatively separate for now. It's okay if they get mixed in a little bit together. All right, now it's time to take the veggies out of the oven.
It really smells good in here,
It
right
smells
now.
really
It
good
really
in
does.
here.
Roasted veggies,
Peppers.
such a great smell. All right, take these out, put them there. Close the oven.
Phil, anything in particular we're looking for on the roasted vegetables? Do you want them to look like a little browned, or are you really just going for soft?
Soft is good. There's actually some browning on the mushrooms and the peppers that you can kind of see if you look in here. And now we just dump the noodles in.
All in the same pan. Keep it simple. Now we're gonna have to break up the noodles and mix them up with everything.
Well, this is a great one-pot dinner for families who are trying to, this looks like it feeds a whole lot of folks with not a whole lot of effort and a lot of flavor in return.
Oh, totally, totally. And it's not a flavor that like, sometimes, people get a little worried with cuisines they're not as familiar with. This is a very accessible flavor, something that I think most people will enjoy.
So if you sort of like basic Chinese food, I'm going to say like
Oh, totally.
chicken chow mein, that this is within your, don't be afraid by the name or the ingredients are really pretty familiar.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And for folks who maybe want a little bit of meat with their dish, what kind of protein or what kind of other would you think would make an excellent addition to this dish?
So, thin sliced ribeye, bulgogi meat is pretty traditional. You could put chicken strips in here, tofu, anything that's just got like a little bit of toothsomeness to it.
Yeah.
So this is nice because it's a pretty flexible recipe in terms of being able to make adaptations and changes. And you mix everything into the sheet pan. I'm curious because I know that we used a different noodle this time. Are you noticing anything different?
Yeah, they are breaking up a little bit more than I think sweet potato noodles are, because normally sweet potato noodles are like very stretchy and chewy, but I think these will still be delicious. So honestly, it'll be good. And then you won't have to worry about really long noodles, because I know that's hard to eat sometimes. I think
Sure.
it's properly mixed.
Well, I'm very excited to try it.
I'm excited to try it too. I came hungry, so.
I'm going to come back. A tech owl. Do you need? Is it income based or it doesn't matter?
For the lending library, anyone can borrow. So literally anyone. We don't ask you like any personal stuff.
You just have to be a PA resident.
Yeah. Yep. And it's good for anyone.
And do you ship your? If somebody was say in Pittsburgh, how would they get?
Yeah. So we have a warehouse in Camp Hill, PA. That's where all the devices get shipped out from. So literally, UPS will drop the device off, and it'll have all the information about the device inside.
Thank you.
And then it'll have a return label date in the box already, so that
It
you
just
don't
comes
even-
back 5 weeks later.
Yeah, you just hold on to the box, and we try to make it as easy as possible. We also schedule UPS pickups as well.
How would somebody know if a piece of equipment is right for them? Are there equipments, like, does somebody come out, look at your house and say you would benefit from?
So what we say is call Tech Owl. I don't remember the phone number by heart, but if you go to our website, techowlpa.org, you can find out about all of our services there.
Can I assume that some of the equipment comes in different sizes based on whether it's for children or adults?
Yeah, and we have some toys and things in the lending library as well. There's stuff for children. There's learning devices, AAC devices.
What does
All kinds of
AAC
things.
mean?
Oh, augmented and alternative communication. It's a hard word to say, but
Bon appetit?
Yeah.
bon
Bon
appetit! All right, let's dig in.
That is good. This is really good. I want to thank our guests, Phill Rosen, Izzy Kaufman, for coming in today, cooking with us, showing us this easy, fun, family-friendly, tasty recipe that can be adapted or changed to meet your family's needs. For those of you who might be interested in the lending library at Tech Owl, I would suggest you check out their website at techowlpa.org. If you do check them out and you do get some equipment, we would love to hear about it, and you can reach out to us at info@disabilitypridepa.org. Thanks for joining us today. It's been a pleasure cooking with you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.